All right. Here's what's crazy. I just noticed, I've never noticed this before. The car in our opening
I know what you're going to say. I know what you're going
is
to
a
say.
PW4 series.
That's right. It sure is.
It was a little foretelling that that's
That's
what I would
right.
end up getting. Hi, everybody. Welcome to CarYada. We have not been on in studio or whatever this is
Yes,
like.
we are. We are in the old Zoom
Yes,
position.
this is the pandemic era. Raffi's in his place. I'm in my place. Not in a car,
Nope.
not on hiatus.
Nope.
We're both here. And
Why
it's
is
live. It is April 5th at 10 a.m.
it hiatus and not hiatus? No, nothing.
Wow. If you have any questions about buying, selling, trading, leasing, credit, anything, repairing, all that stuff,
All
you
of
can
this
put it in the
stuff.
comments. We have some topics to discuss. Obviously, there's a lot going on in the car industry right now.
Yes, there is.
Uh, Adam says hello from way too warm Atlanta.
Atlanta.
He's in Atlanta right now,
All right.
which
Welcome.
normally there's a chance we could cross paths, but I'm not going to Atlanta anytime soon. So, uh, anyway, it is. It's what was it called? Liberation Day?
Oh, is today? Yeah, today is
Not
Liberation Day.
today, but it was 2 days ago or whenever the tariffs went into play.
Yes.
And again, we try not to make this a political show, but it's hard not to when it comes to some of the things that uh, the current administration keeps doing.
Well, they're impacting our cars. Let's just start there. We
Yeah,
just speak of the automotive world and the enormous, incalculable financial impact that is running through all automotive industries as of the past 2 days.
yeah. And the tariffs, we'll start with that because the title of today's show is Tariffs, Tires, and Teslas.
Oh
And,
my.
oh, my. And the tariffs on automobiles are having an immediate impact because a good example, Polestar has like pulled the two. The one that's made in China,
Uh-huh.
you go on the website, they're not even selling them. Like
They're
they're
not.
in stock. They were just here a couple of days ago. I followed mine, by the way. Mine was sold at auction and ended up in New Jersey.
Wow.
Polestar Financial sold mine at the auction, and they got half decent money for it. I mean, not great money considering it's only a year old, but surprisingly decent money. But for Polestar to take their Chinese-made car, leave the 3, which is built in America, in
Mhm.
South Carolina,
Yeah.
and for them to make a rule, not that the car has to be from an American company to get rid of the tariff, it has to be built in the United States.
Right.
More Nissans, Hondas, BMWs, Toyotas are built in the United States than American cars almost at this point.
Yeah.
They should have left the North American, not NAFTA, whatever the new version was called, Magma or whatever he called it. So Canada, Mexico should not be affected
Mm-hmm.
because Ford has tons of cars built, obviously, in Canada and in
And
Mexico.
yeah.
And they brought them all over the border as fast as they could. I don't know if I shared this story or not, but when I was in Arizona, I was at one of the auctions, and there were about 1,200 Fords, brand new, being stockpiled at this auction. And
Right.
they had contracted with the auction just to have a storage space to get cars over the border.
Yeah.
And I'm
Well,
sure they're doing it in California as well.
these companies, American companies and Japanese companies worldwide, have invested in the United States. You go back as far as the 1980s. Now, that's 40 years ago. That's when Ford and many other companies started investing in manufacturing facilities in other countries that would help reduce overall labor costs because of the lower cost of labor in other countries, but also increase the amount of industry and economic growth in these other countries as part of our partnerships for not just manufacturing, but overall global economic health. So at least as far as I'm concerned, and as you've mentioned, Canada and Mexico, they really should have been exempt from this. But unfortunately, there are obscure islands in the middle of the Arctic that apparently got tariffs too. And I think all they do is import seals. So
There's also islands that have no humans.
Yeah.
There's the one McDonald Island, or whatever it's called. I never even heard of it. It's a country apparently, but there's nobody lives there. They have penguins.
They're just penguins.
10% tariff on them.
Wow.
And the calculation they used, people think of trade deficits bad. What they don't realize is, like the Canadian one, they were saying, I'm going to make up numbers here. I don't remember the exact number, but we send $40 billion of American product to Canada, and Canada sends $150 million to us.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we have 330 million people. They have 40.
Yeah.
So obviously we're going to send more. They're going to send more to us because we have more consumers.
Right.
There's just no common sense in the numbers that they came up with.
Right.
And literally, I'm seeing pundits talking on TV that are saying things like, if you're in college for 3 weeks taking an economics class, you would not get this wrong. And they're getting it wrong.
Yeah.
And the big blaring thing is the one country that has no tariffs, Russia.
Yes.
And we do buy and trade with Russia still. We haven't shut them off. They're not like North Korea. We haven't shut them off completely. Yeah. And we have a trade deficit with Russia. Why was Russia not given this? It's becoming scarier and scarier that we are being controlled by Russia.
Well, again, we're probably going too deep into the political ones. But the impact on automobiles is everywhere. It's not only in new cars. It's going to impact the used car market. It's going to impact parts that you need, new parts that you need, not just from first-tier manufacturers, but second-tier manufacturers as well. After cars 10 years old, car companies release most of their tooling that is purchased by second-tier manufacturers, will then go and manufacture those parts because there continues to be a demand for them pre-owned cars. Now, those parts, the tooling typically gets shipped to foreign countries where the tooling is managed at a lower labor rate so that the part costs can be low enough to sustain the vehicles at competitive repair prices. Now, those industries they're not mom and pop type industries, but many of the second to third tier parts suppliers are going to be dramatically affected through manufacturing. Now, most of these volume manufacturers during the first Trump administration, where much of this was initiated, they all went, whoa, this is a problem with manufacturing in China, because China had huge costs, labor costs, and import cost increases under the first Trump administration. And so they moved to Taiwan and Vietnam and other countries with low labor rates. And now those countries are impacted as well. So the idea that we can manufacture these parts in the United States is certainly a nice one, but it's going to take 25 to 30 years to be able to build that infrastructure. And that's assuming that we have young people that are going to be interested in doing the work at an economically viable rate that isn't already replaced by automation, which could be in any country,
Right. And I think part of the problem is, like I mentioned, I'm calling the tariffs tires and Teslas today. Tires are going to go up. They have a month until it hits the tire manufacturers. And a lot of tires are made in the USA still.
Yes.
But there's a ton that come from overseas.
There's a lot of tires that come in. Again, there are, I think, 4 or 5 major tire brands and manufacturers. And then below that are like literally hundreds of sub-brands underneath for various uses and needs and things like that. Arizona Tire, you just go down the list of all these tire companies that are available, Cooper Tire and all that. Many of these tires are manufactured by larger companies, and they are lower cost tires specifically designed, again, for older cars or pre-owned cars or cost-conscious consumers who don't want to spend $1,000 for tires. They want to spend maybe $500 to $600. Pricing for those tires is going to go up more than the more expensive tires, because the margins are thinner on those lower cost tires because they make it up in volume. So that's going to be a big problem because it's going to impact people. And then what you've got people driving on tires that are not as safe as they should be, and you're going to increase accidents. It's a ridiculous form of fiscal management without any sign of success, short term or long term.
Yeah, and I think, it just frustrates me because people think America doesn't like it. If you had to guess the top 50 producing countries, manufacturing countries in the world, where would the United States be?
Top 50
Top 50. Where do you think we are right now?
in manufacturing?
Yeah.
I'm going to say in the teens.
All right. In the comments, what number do you think we are in manufacturing in the world? Who do you think is number one, number two, blah, blah, blah. But, just top 50. Some people think we're not even in the top 100 anymore.
Oh, wow. No, I think we're much better than that. I mean, look, it's not that hard to scour our continent and find substantial manufacturing. I don't know if it's probably not as true as it was 15 years ago, but we were making furniture here.
Oh, in North Carolina, yes.
Astronomical rate, because furniture on a weight to scale basis is expensive to ship. So it didn't make sense. Not to mention the fact that most sofas and chairs and tables are made from wood. And you don't want to ship wood as a raw material to a country that doesn't have a lot of wood.
So you were guessing the teens.
Yeah.
Adam says China 1, Japan 2, US 10th. Are you ready for this? We're number 2.
Number 2. Okay.
We're still number 2 in the world.
And of course,
China's number 1, obviously. Yeah. Japan's number 3, Germany, then India, South Korea, Russia, Italy, Mexico, France. That's the top 10.
Wow.
We're still number 2.
And what's the spread between China and US in terms of volume of manufacture? Are we supplying 40% of manufactured goods out of the 100, or is China 60%?
Let me find the chart.
I'm curious about the saturation of level. It's
China's value is 4.6 trillion. Ours is 2.4.
So they're producing at twice the rate on a cost basis than we are. And what is the third position? What is
Germany at 844 billion?
So substantially less.
Japan 818 billion.
Very close to Germany.
Yeah, Germany and Japan keep flipping slots, and then India is 455 billion.
Wow.
So the fact that tariffs work when you're a new economy.
Yeah. Well, they can work when you're a new economy.
They can work when you're a new economy, and that's why we had them initially in the 1700s,
right?
Because we needed a way to make to have incentive to buy American and build American and sell American outside the country.
But I want to follow up with that, because there's a second really critical feature of tariffs and new growth, and that is you have to have the populace to manage the making of this stuff. That was a key feature of China. It's been a key feature of India. It's going to continue to be a key feature in other developing nations that have enormous populace. And remember that with the United States, we didn't really see the exponential growth until the turn of the 1900s, when we started our Industrial Revolution. And at that point, there was such a population that was desperate for work that it was easy to get that workforce going. But people forget that if that was supposed to be when America was in their magnificent growth curve, people forget that a lot of innocent children were mistreated. There was a tremendous amount of waste. There was all kinds of regulatory things that are in place today that weren't in place then to give us an industrial advantage. And that's that's one of the biggest problems today, is because you go to start a manufacturing facility. Let's say you and I wanted to open a facility on Bainbridge Island to manufacture something. It would take us years just to get the machinery and the infrastructure and the government, the local government, not to mention the Washington state government, to approve our manufacturing facility. And it would have to abide by enormous levels of environmental restrictions for what we were making. And then we'd have to find high school aged kids to train and retain to run those industries.
Yeah, and minimum wage here is almost $20. So we're not going to find people. We're not going to be able to manufacture anything in
No,
the state of Washington.
we're going to end up with like the military hammers that cost $600.
Yeah,
And what'll happen is, as we're going to see within the next few months, people are going to stop buying. If you were considering buying a new car that would have to be imported, people are going to not buy the new car. Instead, they're going to go look for a pre-owned car, which is going to increase the prices of pre-owned cars, because the demand goes up, the prices are going to go up, because inventory is going to go down. That's the other thing people are going to do. They're going to keep their old car. I'll keep this another year. Oh, I have a 2017 car. I was going to trade it in and get a 2025. I think I'll keep this one another year. Let's see what happens with these tariffs. Let's say this is going to be an enormous ripple effect on the automotive economy.
yeah. The used car market is already seeing it. Cars that we're selling at auction are getting much higher numbers than even a week or two ago. Ray, of course, will tell you, Trump is killing him in the markets. But on the bright side, come to Affordable Used Cars and Trucks in Bremerton. Ask for Ray. Get a free medium Dutch Brothers coffee next door. Restrictions apply.
Restrictions apply.
Restriction, of course, as Ray says, is he has to be there.
Yes, that's the single restriction. And you have
restriction. He has to be there.
Well, and look, we haven't even talked about the stock market. Now, the stock market is not necessarily a general economic indicator, but it's a big indicator because I heard the statistic: $6 trillion of personal wealth was lost in the market.
Oh, no, as Warren Buffett says, nothing is lost unless you sell.
Well, that's true.
Somebody said, "Hey, you lost $1 billion." He says, "No, my stock value dropped $1 billion, but I didn't sell anything. So until I sell it, that's when the wins and losses actually happen."
Well, we even if you call them paper losses, it's still a paper loss because money is made out of paper. So
true. But I think that for the automotive world, is now the best time to buy a car. I mean, I got lucky. I got a car that's going to get hit with tariffs. But the tariffs don't get hit until the car hits U.S. soil. If it's already on U.S. soil, then they can't tariff it.
Right.
They can't just say, "Oh, we're going to charge for all these cars." No, it's already here.
But here's what could also happen is dealers that have landed vehicles at pre-tariff rates, they're not stupid. They're going to bump up the price a little bit. Or if somebody comes in to play a hard bargain on a $55,000 car and says, "Look, I'll give you 53," they'll go, "You know what? 3 days from now, with this tariff thing, we'll be able to sell this car for 57."
Right.
And would they be wrong? No, because
the other thing too is the tariff is not just on, it's not on the sticker price. The tariff is on the wholesale cost for the importer to bring it in. Now, could they fudge the numbers?
Sure.
Could Ford say, "Oh, this car only cost us $10,000 or $12,000 or the material cost of this car"? Yeah, they could fudge the numbers. Then the 25% of that is not that much of an increase of the overall sticker price. A good example, my mother-in-law was ordering a car. She wanted a particular exterior, interior color combination, had to be ordered from the factory. It's a Japanese brand. She was freaking out because she had ordered the car quite a while ago.
Mm.
And the dealer called and said, hey, with these tariffs, there's a good chance that your car might get hit with a 25% sticker price increase, which was wrong because it's
Yeah.
not 25% of the sticker.
Right.
Would you like, we have this one in stock that's the same car, just with the black interior. She's like, no, I ordered that car because that's the car I want. So she was freaking out. I was helping. I was doing a search all over the country to see if there were none. Like no dealership ordered this color combination. She's going to have like a one-off.
There you go.
But luckily, she had found out that it had already landed on U.S. soil. It just takes about 45 days for the car to go through processing from the port to get to the dealership in Boston. But because it already landed, they assured her, here's your VIN, here's your price. We're not touching it.
Well, look, even though these impacts, the fiscal impacts, may be less than people imagine, that doesn't matter. What matters is that when you scare buyers, when you scare consumers, they flee. If I tell you I got sick after eating at this particular restaurant, even though it had nothing to do with eating there, you'll associate that with that restaurant. You won't go there just simply because of what I said.
Yeah.
And then you might convey that to other people, and they may not go there because of what was said, even though it's only correlative. So the impact here is that there's so much media talking about how cars are going to be impacted, how the industries are going to be impacted. If you're going to buy a television, I just imagine that in Costco, there was a run on big screen TVs during the past 3 or 4 days because people were fearful that if they wanted a new big screen TV, now was the time to go buy one. So all sorts of things, I think, are going to happen from this. But I do think that there's no doubt that new car prices are going to increase. Used car prices are going to be harder to find. Demand is going to be high for used cars simply because people won't be shopping. They won't be going to that restaurant because they heard that they could get sick.
Right. Now, Ford looks like they're doing a genius move. This is what people think Ford is doing. So they're doing this employee pricing. You pay what we pay. Now, I guarantee, I haven't looked at the fine print, but I'm sure it's going to say something about car must be in stock, no special orders. Let's see if they have it anywhere on the site.
They used to have what's called, I think, the B plan.
Yeah, this is the A plan. This is basically if you work for Ford. I mean, like somebody showed a $65,000 F-150 is $56,000. And so, yeah, it is a true discount. Now, Ford's also been having trouble selling their cars to start with recently.
Yeah.
But knowing that what I saw, the 1,200 cars sitting in Arizona that they were rushing to get over, so none of those will have the impact. I'm sure the employee pricing is, it's a great marketing ploy. They're saying, hey, look, the tariffs are coming. Come to Ford. It's almost like, yeah, everyone's puking by going to that restaurant. Hey, nobody pukes here.
Right.
And then the restriction is we're exempting anyone that's ever puked here.
Yeah.
Similar thing. So I guarantee you can't get anything that you have to order because that are built in Mexico or Canada. Those are going to be tariffed. And the other thing is you go to get your car serviced, parts are going to start getting more expensive.
Yeah.
So service is going to get more expensive, which means especially if you have a good warranty, like I'm wondering if they're going to have new restrictions when you buy a service contract or you get an extended warranty that you must use non-tariffed parts, or they only guarantee up to 110% of price as of this date. Like they won't cover the tariff because the insurance companies could really get hurt by this.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, and keep in mind that there's nothing worse than a higher concentration of vehicles on the road that are mechanically compromised. And if people are fearful of the cost of maintaining their car because of the increased prices, they're going to say no to things they shouldn't say no to.
Yeah.
And that means that cars are not going to be as safe on the road, not tomorrow, but over time. There'll be a higher concentration of unsafe vehicles or less safe vehicles on the road because people are compromising.
Yeah. Now, Ray says used car prices are the worst he's seen at the Manheim auction. Even Saab to bring all the money. I should have held on to mine. Swedish
There
cars.
you go. Well, the
Uh,
other thing, oh, go ahead.
Dan Lindquist says people are also not quite accurately relaying stories, and that adds to people's assumption. Right. Like people think 25%, every car is going to be up 25% now. Well,
Right.
that's not true
Yeah.
because the manufacturer also has, a lot of profit. They could say, you know what, we're going to split it. So you might go up 8%, 10%,
Right.
because they're going to eat a little bit, hoping to get your loyalty while this is going on, like what Ford is doing with the employee pricing. Also, what cars are American? Like, Tesla says their cars are 100% American because they're all assembled here.
Right.
But like 40% of the parts are made in China. The seats are made in China. They're not made here. All the electronic components are made in China. The sensors are made in China. So
Right.
that's going to raise theirs up as well.
It is. Now, back to the point you were making about costs. The When I was doing substantial manufacturing and importing specialty automotive parts out of China, we would do things like 500 pieces of bumper trim for a 57 Buick, tail lights, emblems, things like that. So, but the parts would come in and they would be assessed inbound as inbound freight to the US and assessed by inbound customs at a certain value. The value that was put on the invoice was the material value, as you were explaining earlier. And that value compared to what I ended up paying for it was substantially less. So if I paid $22 per part for something, they came into the United States and were assessed on duty. I said duty on $8 per part as that price assessment. Now, when I sold it, if the assessment went up, it didn't really matter to me that the assessment went up because I kept the same price, and all I did was effectively pay a higher duty to bring it in. And sometimes that duty was paid by the manufacturer. Now, and this is an important point because when we had good relations with China, good trade relations, Chinese manufacturing facilities, which are basically owned, all of them are owned by the government, even though they're run independently. Chinese manufacturing facilities get money from the government to increase their volume of manufacture. So the government, even though they see an $8 inbound customs due on it, if that goes up, it doesn't matter. The manufacturer pays it. China absorbs that as part of their growth, their economic growth plan to absorb inbound freight from China heading to the United States because of our trade agreements. So that's going to go away. And what China is going to rightfully do, which they can do, is they'll just start jacking up. It won't even be a tariff situation. They'll jack up that price, that variance between the actual cost and the sort of, I don't want to say fake cost, but the reported cost for inbound duty. And that variance is going to change to where it thins down to here. And guess what? They're no longer going to cover it. The US is going to come and they'll say, no, we can no longer cover inbound freight. It's against our policy, they'll say. Now, if you're running 3,000 parts and the variance is, $1,100 and you're going to make 14 grand on the project, no problem. You can absorb that. Now, try to do that on $400 million worth of something, and $17 million variance now turns into a $40 million variance.
Yeah. Too much math this early in the morning, but what you're saying is spot on. And there's always a way to manipulate. And, President Biden put 100% tariff on vehicles from China, so China couldn't enter this market.
Right.
China has some amazing electric vehicles now.
Yes, they do.
Like they've beat us. They're better than Teslas. They're really, but do they have all the safety features? Do they have they been crash tested the same way? Probably not. But if I'm China right now, I would subsidize those and just be like, fine, we'll eat the 100% because they still have cars that are $11,000 cars that if they were 22, they could sell here for 32 and
Right.
still make a fortune.
Right. Don't forget, the same thing was true when Hyundai started importing cars to the United States. They made super cheap cars. They made like $1,500 cars. And they started looking in North American markets, and they realized they did have to up their game. So they spent a lot of money developing a car that would pass all of those things. Uh, China has a car, I'm sure, uh, that can be brought into the United States for significantly lower money than what we're selling today.
Yeah.
And it could absorb uh, the market variance even at 100%. But the problem is there's no room for China, not here in the United States. And that's the thing that no one is talking about, is that American vehicle consumption is dropping on a worldwide level. And China's not stupid. They've been looking around for a long time, just like Canada. Canada's already in conversations with China. Guess who's going to be one of the big buyers of Chinese developed automobiles? Canada.
Yeah.
Because Canada's going to go, you know what? We'll take some of those cheap cars.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've got restrictions and all that. And China, we're happy to work with you because you develop your cars to come here. Maybe when administrations change, you'll have a vehicle to help to import into North America. But in the meantime, we'll help you with that growth. And if China can find growth on a volume level for automotive production that goes 12% increase in Canada, 14% increase in India, 6% increase in Vietnam, et cetera, et cetera. They're going to make up a worldwide global growth curve that is larger than the one that North America would replace.
Yeah. Now, Adam asked the question, aren't Lucids made in China? Actually, no. Lucids are made in California.
They are made in California, and they are funded by
Saudi.
Saudi money.
Yeah. They're heavily funded by Saudi money. They're an American company. Most of their components are made, I'm sure a lot of their components are made in China or around the world, but the cars are 100% assembled in the United States.
Now,
they've got an SUV coming out that's pretty amazing.
Both Lucid and Tesla, some would argue that both of those cars are Chinese developed cars because there's such a significant amount of technology in both those vehicles that were developed in China that technically they are already Chinese cars, just bundled and packaged and delivered. Now, in the garment industry, we have relied significantly on China for sewn goods, soft goods, fabric type stuff, not just clothing, but also shoes and bags and backpacks. In that industry, they have cleverly avoided a number of different methods for tariff-based problems, including shipping pre-packaged kits. So you get 90% of the backpack made and all the difficult gluing and sewing done with for all
assembled in America,
and then delivered to the United States. And then they do the final assembly of it, and they put the sticker on it that says this backpack was assembled in the United States.
Yeah, I have to correct myself. Lucid is not made in California. It's made in Arizona.
Well, it's made in the United States.
It is made in the United States, but it is Arizona. I think their headquarters are California. But Lucid Motors Advanced Manufacturing Plant 1, AMP1, located in Casa Grande, first greenfield EV factory in North America where Lucid Air Sedan, the upcoming Gravity SUV, will be assembled.
Yes.
Now, again, they're assembled.
Right, because tons of parts come from all over the world, the majority of which are made in China, and they are delivered to Arizona and then assembled as a U.S.-based assembled vehicle. Now, you could jigger the laws associated with how much of that vehicle is U.S.-based made or North American manufactured. There's all sorts of ways of doing that because really, from a world economy perspective for automobile manufacturing, even if you make a battery in the United States and say this is an electric vehicle battery that's made in the United States. You go, well, is it really? Where'd you get the raw materials? Well, they came from China, they came from Australia, they came from this. Okay, so is it really? I don't think, at least not anymore, you have any truly domestic manufacturing unless you have a foundry in your backyard and you're mining the ore that heats the coal, that, et cetera, et cetera. Henry Ford had that, truly did, in his River Rouge plant, where he had fields of trees that he cut down to make the wheels. He had literally his own mine that he used to dig out and make the metal. And that's how he was able to make 13 million Model Ts, which was an astronomical number of automobiles in the United States. And
Now,
so,
what would stop BYD from making a kit? What would stop BYD, the big Chinese company that's making the electric cars, or Geely, who makes the Polestar, just shipping over all the parts and creating an American brand? Like, start an American company and buy all the parts from them, but you assemble it, you build an assembly plant, or you buy an old one, and you assemble these cars here in the United States. You could come up with a new electric brand that's 100% Chinese parts. You use American tires, from Ohio, nice Dayton, Ohio tires, and you assemble it with American union workers. And so, you end up having the extra cost.
Now you have a Toyota. I mean, that's
true.
the model that we've had for years with Toyota, for example, who has domestic manufacturing here. And we're basically, as Dan says, Dan Lindquist, it's cars in a box. And this has been going on for years in a number of different ways with manufacturing. And the only reason why it's a problem today is because our current administration believes that there are advantages that can be put together by re-abstracting the world economic model into an isolationist model that is supposed to grow this country in a bigger way. And that model might have applied at some point in domestic history for the United States, but it does not apply today because we live in a world economy.
Yeah. Now let's go to the comments. We have a few comments here. China or China? Chris, the drastic difference in percentages charged for import-export trade is what some are questioning. Yeah. I mean, some people say, well, when we export stuff, other countries charge more money, but we're still the number 2 manufacturing country in the world. Like, that's not really what the trade Chris also says, love seeing all the Tesla being traded in. So happy for Elon. Yes. I heard some dealerships won't even accept them anymore because they just sit. Lucid and Rivian all the way. Yeah, they like Lucid just did an extra $2,000 on top of their $2,000 Conquest. If you have any other competitor brand, they're giving a $2,000 Conquest rebate. And then if you trade in your Tesla, they're giving another $2,000. So $4,000 towards their car if you trade in a Tesla. And I can tell you from personal knowledge, they're doing about 75% of their trade-ins are Teslas.
Yeah. I helped 4 people just in the past 2 weeks trade their Tesla in, 2 for a BMW and 1 for an Audi, and the other got I couldn't believe how much they got for their Tesla on trade-in to
Really?
Ford. Yeah. It was much more than I thought he was going to be able to get.
Yeah, we just had a Model X that from Auto Trader that we had to sell at auction, and the MMR, which is the Manheim Market Report value, was $20,000.
Yeah,
and we got 21.9, shockingly. Because again, there are dealers that are like, you know what, people still want these cars. They're not horrible cars, but if they can get them super cheap. I mean, that was $100,000+ car when it was new.
Look, it's like, I mean, how many people are listening to P. Diddy's music now? So once the problem isn't the car. The car is actually a pretty darn good automobile. The problem isn't the people working building Teslas or the technology that's put into a Tesla. The problem is you've got P. Diddy running the place.
Yeah.
And I probably shouldn't use him as an example, but the idea again is that mindset and methodology becomes part of the object. You cannot separate the creator from the work. Once you're aware what an awful human being Frank Lloyd Wright was, it's hard to look at his magnificent architecture in the same way.
Yeah. Adam says, do you think Elon leaving Dodge was an ultimatum from the Tesla board? Well, Tesla basically, he's going to leave eventually. I mean, it's not officially out, but he's going to become an advisor. And also he says, would they have traded in without the politics? No. Elon, first off, you can't be a part-time CEO. You can't be the CEO of a major car company and also be the CEO of a space company, also be the CEO of an IA company, also be the CEO of a solar company. You could be the CEO of a parent company that has subsidiaries, but each of those subsidiaries would also have a CEO. And that's where Elon's mistake is. He's a control freak.
Yeah.
And he wants to try to control. He has let Tesla just go. He's ignoring them. And the board is coming saying, you have to come back and be the CEO or you have to leave. One or the other.
Because he's achieved such a high level, he's like the apex predator from the media perspective now. Nobody can consume him.
Right.
So at that level, he's so high up there, it's no longer interesting or exciting to him to be plain old CEO of one company.
Yeah.
So once you taste that level of power, you really don't, you not only can't go back, you don't want to go back. He'll never be just a CEO. He's got to keep escalating and keep ramping up. The report that he's leaving Doge creates even more interest in him.
Yeah.
Because he'll leave, and then what'll happen? He'll Steve Jobs come back, and he'll go, I came back to save Doge. 6 months later, he'll say, well, now I realized this, and I found out that, and I did this.
The biggest problem with Doge, they keep talking about all the fraud they're finding. 0.0% people have been found guilty of, not only found, charged with anything. Like no one's being charged.
Right.
And yes, there's government inefficiency. But like I said before, if you want to prune a tree, you don't start at the trunk.
Right.
You cut the tree down and go, okay, well now, how do I put the tree back? I just meant to prune a few branches off.
Listen, it's the same thing. He's told people not to eat at that restaurant because he got sick. And so now everybody believes, well, government is full of waste. Government is full. Yeah. And look, we don't have the
government's full of waste. That's true. There's a lot of it.
That's right. But it's functional, and it functions at that scale. It's going to have waste. It's going to have problems. But the functionality is greater than the problem. That's what democracy is. The fact that we can have a democracy, it is the goal consistently to form a more perfect union is what we are trying to do. And whether you're Republican or Democrat or independent, that doesn't matter. The goal for all of the constituency is to form a more perfect union. And you don't do that by breaking things apart that are in the process of forming that union. Right. That's what Lincoln did. Lincoln said we cannot be divided in this way. We cannot be a nation divided. And that's not what's happening here. We're not a nation divided. What's happening here is that we're being broken by radicalized leadership that doesn't understand the long-term impacts of their policies.
Right. A private company can do certain things. You can go in, bull in the china shop. You can shake things up, make things. You're a private company. Government is different. There's so many layers and levels. And yes, it's inefficient. And there are things all over the place. And I'm sure they've, the stories of the, $20,000 toilets.
Yeah.
But no, it's amazing that nobody is complaining about how much it costs Trump to go golf every weekend. Like that's an inefficiency. If he's truly a billionaire and he's truly for the people, why are we paying for him to get on Air Force One? Why are we paying for all of his Secret Service to pay anything to stay at Mar-a-Lago. He should say, "Oh, you know what's on me? I'll cover it." You know, everybody just says, "Oh, he's not taking his $400,000 salary." He's making that in a couple of days
Yeah.
with all the stuff he's selling. You know, he's selling product to people. He's the president. He's not supposed to be selling product. Jimmy Carter gave up his peanut farm because he thought it would be a conflict of interest. A little tiny peanut farm. Anyway,
Listen, we don't
we
have
turn political again.
we yeah. The bottom line here on this is that if we had a program on the television industry, if we had a program on the food industry, on restaurants, you cannot escape the politics of today, because
Right. But you used to be able to.
you used to be able to, because the ideal governmental structure is the one that lets you drive your car to work, lets you safely put gas in your car without getting shot at, lets you go to the store and buy food that isn't going to kill you, lets you go to medical facilities and get the proper regulated medical care. All of this is invisible in order for us to have a civil society. And when everything that we rely on is broken up in the way that we're seeing, it infiltrates all things, even fun automobiles.
Yes. Dan is saying Discovery's likely have to go through a court indictment process to press charges accordingly. They haven't, but they have to bring, like, they would have announced, "Hey, we're bringing up." They always announce, like, it's a big, "Oh, look, we found this scammer." You know, they're talking about 8-year-olds getting Social Security. Elon Musk did not realize that 8-year-olds could get survivor benefits.
Yeah.
Like, he didn't even know how the process works.
Yeah. Why would he? He's never
Right.
going to collect it, even
Right.
though, so he has no interest in it. And
So there's
it's
not, the fraud that's happening is not wide. I mean, mistakes happen. And if fraud happens, people should be arrested and people should be indicted. And
when
politicians in general there's a lot of corruption once you get in power.
when you act on ignorance, ignorant things happen. And that's what we're experiencing. So you see that, and look, right now, to be educated, to say, look, you can't do this because look at the cost impact here. If you take this and break it down here and look at this number and look at these percentages of this and see how and here's a citation from the Harvard Business Review that shows that back in 2014, this is what happened when this happened. And that was the direct result of everybody just glosses over because they go, wrong, I hate you. What country are you from? You got your degree in England. We don't want to honor those degrees. Stop talking. I'll take another question from here. And this is we're in loudmouth land, and we're being led by people that are media hungry for constant attention. And this country is going to be, hopefully, will be robust and strong enough to be able to weather it. But we're going to see just how much longer we can ride on tires that are running out of tread wear.
Yeah. Speaking of, let's have some fun for a few minutes. Let's stop with the stop with. I've got some questions to ask you to see if you know. These are firsts.
Okay.
I don't know if we've ever done this before.
Right.
I've had this link forever, and I'm like, we're going to talk about this today, and we only have 11 minutes left.
Okay.
The first car with the digital dashboard.
First American car with a digital dashboard. I'm going to say fully.
This is any car.
Well, the Corvette, the 1984 Corvette, had a full digital dashboard. It's a production car. I'm going to go with that, but I think there may have been a European car that had a full digital.
It is a European car.
And
I will say it's almost 50 years ago. If that helps give you a clue. And if anybody in the comments without Googling.
I wonder if it was Mercedes. I know they experimented with digital dashboards in the 70s. Or was it Peugeot? No, Renault.
Ready?
Yeah.
The Aston Martin Lagonda.
Okay, 76.
All right. Here's our next one. What was the very first hybrid car? This is an easy one.
I think that's the Prius, isn't it?
You are correct, sir. All right. Let's go to the next question. First car with all-wheel steering.
All-wheel steering. Honda had all-wheel steering,
Ah, you're right.
and that would be, I think, the Prelude that had it.
Boom, look at you. 1987 Prelude. All right, next question. First car with a keyless entry system. Not American. I will give you that clue.
Cadillac had it. Keyless.
1982. I'll tell you that also. And not American.
My inclination is Mercedes. Renault.
No, Fuego.
Fuego. Wow.
All
Okay.
right. Now, what is the first car with a touchscreen interface?
First car with a touchscreen interface.
It was a green screen, black, with green light letters. It is an American car, and it is from the 80s, but it had a touch screen, not just a digital dash. It actually had a little square. You could turn the fan on. And this one I actually knew when I first saw it, because I remember this car because when I was coaching basketball, one of the kids' dads had it. I was like, oh my God, it's so cool.
It is cool. And I'm going to say Cadillac.
Very, very close.
Oldsmobile?
The Buick Riviera.
Buick Riviera. Okay.
All right. I might be going too fast for viewers to get these, so I might wait. What was the first car that had GPS navigation built in?
Built-in GPS navigation. Is that Cadillac North Star system?
No.
That would be my first guess.
North Star would sound like it.
Let me think then. First car with built-in GPS.
Anyone in the comments want to guess?
North Star seems like it would be the one.
No.
Let me think here.
North Star is just the name of the engine.
No, but in the Cadillac, the North Star system, they had the what was the find you if you're what are they?
OnStar. You're thinking of OnStar.
OnStar. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, this is an actual screen. I will say it's 1990. Acura, not an American brand, but
I'll go Acura, Honda.
It was actually Mazda.
Okay.
Wow. And I think this might be the last one. No, we've got a few more. Which car had the first xenon headlights? Standard.
Well, the one that comes to mind almost immediately as standard for xenon headlights would be Mercedes, but Porsche had it also.
In the right country.
I'll go BMW. BMW.
Yep, the E32.
Okay.
There you go. All right. Now we go to the next one. First car with the rear view camera.
Oh, that's interesting. That's a really good one.
There we go. So in the comments, what was the first car with the rear view camera? While Raffi's trying to figure it out.
The rear view camera.
That's the standard one. It's, obviously you could put one in any car now.
Yeah.
But this is, it's in the dashboard, big square.
Standard.
Well, it wasn't necessarily standard, but it was the first car that was an option. It was factory. Like you could have it put in. It wasn't an aftermarket.
The obvious one to me would be the Hummer H2 because it's such a damn big vehicle. And I'm thinking it would be a truck of some sort or
it's a car
SUV. So
I'll give you 2 clues. It's a car and it's from 2002.
Then again, I'm going back. I would think Cadillac because
it is a luxury brand.
It's either Cadillac or Lexus in 2002.
Infinity.
Okay.
So Nissan was trying to be ahead of the curve there. What was the first car that had the push button start? Now, obviously, modern car because older cars had those.
Yeah, I had a 1953 car with push button start.
So this one's a little off because yeah, old cars had these. So we'll call it the first car in the of modern cars. Because it's saying 2003.
2003.
Yeah.
Wow. I was going to guess the Ford GT, but 2003 is a little later. I thought the Ford GT had push button start. I'll have to
I'm going to
check that.
stop. I'm actually going to call this one a bluff, and it's incorrect because it is the 2003 Mercedes S-Class. That's the first modern one, apparently. But I think it's wrong, especially I just Googled, and the first car that ever had it was the 1912 Cadillac Model 30 because it had an electric starter activated by a button instead of the hand crank.
Right. And what that did, it was probably the most important advancement in automobile technology that changed culture, because what it allowed women and young men and women to do was drive a vehicle independently, because you need a tremendous amount of arm strength to hand crank a car.
Right.
Kids and women didn't have the physical arm strength at the turn of the century to be able to do that. And so what that did was that helped emancipate women, because they were allowed to then drive vehicles on their own. And it also helped young people learn to drive vehicles and help with the farm and things like that. Big advancement, 1912 Cadillac.
What do you think was the first car that came with Bluetooth connectivity in it? This is 2001. I'll give you the year. What car came with it first?
Well, my 05 Honda has Bluetooth connectivity. So 01, I'm going to go with a premium brand. I'll say Acura here too.
Chrysler 300M.
Okay.
So it's sort of premium.
Yeah.
And the final one, first car that had a self-parking system.
I think it's the Tesla.
Actually goes back to 2006. The Lexus LS 460 had it as an
Had a
option.
self-parking system.
It had a thing that you could, parallel, and it'll bring it and it'll pull it in with the cameras.
That's 2006.
Yeah.
What year was your Tesla? It was one of the first ones.
13, and it didn't have it.
Oh, it didn't have it. Yeah.
No. The early Teslas did not have a lot of I had cameras. I had no parking sensors.
First,
they added those in 2014.
First production car with ABS?
If I'm not mistaken, 67 Oldsmobile. Oh, no, that was airbags.
I believe it is the Jensen Interceptor.
Yes, you're right. Oh, no. According to Google, first car with ABS, 78 Mercedes S-Class.
No, the Interceptor came before. The Interceptor was 74 and 5 when it had ABS brakes.
All right. Interesting.
Google isn't always right.
I know. Well, this was just,
well, I shouldn't say right.
This is a TikTok I took this from.
I should say accurate.
First car with the built-in record player.
Oh, Chrysler's Highway Hi-Fi 1955, I think, is the first year.
Wow.
I think that's...
Yeah, the Highway Hi-Fi 1956 Chrysler, DeSoto, Dodge, and Plymouth cars it was available on.
Yeah. What a great, I think. And they actually had, it was a little record player under the dash, but they actually had to make special records for it because they needed to make the grooves deeper so that it wouldn't, the needle wouldn't hop around too much as it was going.
Yep, Dan busted you out there.
56. I thought 55.
Yeah, it was 56. Now, is that where Motorola had something to do with?
It might have been a Motorola product.
I remember Victrola was the record player company.
Yes.
And then there was Motorola came out with something.
Right.
I'm just having a brain fart here.
Well, Motorola was motor car type of, I think, electronics or audio systems.
They were the first successful car radio, not record player.
Yeah,
Motorola ST71 released in 1930.
right. And the Victrola was, I believe, from Victor Company, uh, the Victor record player company, uh, and that's how they got, I think, and they may have been uh, part of corporate absorption during the 50s that
Yeah.
allowed for
The
Victrola.
RCA from 60 to 61 replaced the Highway Hi-Fi with the RCA Auto Victrola, which played a stack of up to 14 conventional 45 RPMs. So the Auto Victrola was a separate, that's what replaced the original one. So I knew my brain, some synapses were going. And in closing, we should talk about gas for a quick second.
All right.
Just because, why not?
How much is gas where you live?
Now, what's going on with gas prices? I went to fill up and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm paying $4.20 a gallon again. How did that happen?
Here in Washington,
Ah,
the current average right now is 438.4 for regular gas. A month ago it was 411.
it's crazy.
It has gone up 27 cents in
Why?
Washington.
Is there a tariff on fuel coming in from other countries?
Gas went crazy. Overall, what do you think the cheapest is in the country?
I'll go Mississippi at $3.19.
$2.75, Mississippi.
Wow, it's that low in Mississippi.
Yep.
What is it in Oklahoma?
Oklahoma is $2.80.
Good grief.
And Oklahoma is the cheapest diesel at $3.18, $1 less than here.
Wow. Now, to put that in context, I just bought a Camry Hybrid. It's a pre-owned car. Most likely it's going to be for my younger daughter. I got 39 miles to the gallon on the highway with it, coming back from California. That's pretty impressive for a gas-burning car.
Well, I will impress you more. When I was just down in California for the LA Comedy Film Festival, which we may or may not have won an award at. We'll find out in a week. But we did win. We haven't been on since then. We did win the Portland Comedy Film Festival. It's a Lot won the Best Episodic Series award,
Which
officially an award-winning sitcom.
when do we get the key to Portland, the key to the city? Because I'd like to go down there. And
Oh, you don't want the key to Portland. No, Portland was awesome.
Where's the most expensive gas?
The most expensive gas is
California.
it's got to be California, right?
It must. If we're paying for something, it must be like
California's $4.95, Hawaii's $4.52, we're $4.38. We're third highest.
You know, the spread between Washington and California now is not what it used to be. It used to be almost $1 difference.
Yeah.
Now costs are increasing in Washington State.
Yeah, there was something else I was about to say. Oh, when I was in California, my rental was a 2025 Camry. What kind of mileage do you think I got on that? And they're all hybrids now. They come standard as a hybrid.
Did you get 43, 44?
52.
Wow.
52 miles a gallon average. And I was doing city and highway driving.
And
highway driving in California is a lot of sitting.
That's impressive. Well, I don't know. We don't want to mention names, but we've got a fellow in our group who bought the Toyota Prius. I think he was telling us that he got somewhere in the order of 60, 65.
Yeah, you got like a 72 on a trip to Silverdale once.
Jeez.
It depends on how you drive it and how long you can stay in electric mode.
Yeah.
Now, the plug-in hybrid is obviously you do much better.
Yes.
My wife's plug-in hybrid, her new one, she's getting 40 on a full charge. Miles, just straight up, keep it electric.
Wow.
Plug it in every night. And my new electric car, it's my favorite electric car ever. My favorite car other than my DeLorean that I own. Yeah, it's number 2 of all 50 plus cars I've owned. My current car is number 2.
And you're getting 92 miles to the gallon.
I don't have a gallon, but yes.
I know, but if you were calculate the
Yeah,
gallon,
that's what they say. It's the equivalent of 92 miles a gallon.
impressive.
But we went well over today, which
We
is
sure
fine.
did. Yeah.
Any
Any announcements on where you're going to be coming up?
we've got a comedy show at the dojo, which you'll be at as well. When is that?
When is that? Yeah, you need to
Let's
let
go
me
to
know.
danrosenberg.com and see all my upcoming dates.
While you're doing that, I will remind our listeners, Westerly Sound, the band I play with, will be performing later today at the Bainbridge Island Art Museum, 2 to 5 o'clock. Hopefully it won't be too crazy with the protests. That should wrap up by the time we play there. And then April 9th over at Fletcher Bay Winery, we'll be performing with a couple other bands that come and do sort of an open mic sequence of 2 to 3 pieces. Each band or each group will play, and I'll sit in with a couple other players. That'll be over at Fletcher Bay. Make sure you make a reservation because they do fill up pretty quickly for these musical events.
All right. While we're doing plugs,
Spark plugs.
here we go. Not hair plugs. So on my website, on my comedy specials there, April 15th, we've got the stand-up comedy dojo. That is
April
10 comics
15th.
working out their material.
April 15. Okay, I'll put that in.
The 17th is a film festival that we will be showing It's a Lot in Atlanta. The 19th, Bainbridge Performing Arts. I have a show that is called the Johnny 5 Show, which is a bunch of comics doing their best 5 minutes as if they were on the Tonight Show. So you get a really good 5-minute demo.
That's April 19.
April 19th is Saturday night in
What
the
time?
studio. I believe it's at 7:30.
Okay.
Let's double check while we're here. Yes, 7:30 p.m. And then May 1st, Angel of the Winds Casino. I'm headlining a show up there in Arlington, Washington.
You're headlining at that one.
I'm doing a casino show. And then another dojo on the 20th. I got a lot going on. Taylor Williamson's coming to town on the 24th.
Busy man.
Headlining Gig Harbor. And then look at this. In Tacoma, I'm going to be opening for Pauly Shore for 4 shows.
Are you really?
In June 20th and 21st.
All right. I didn't even know Pauly was still doing stand-up.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So there you go. There's our plugs for the day.
All right.
Not hair plugs, not spark plugs.
No plugs here.
So, yeah, check us out, danrosenberg.com. And I might see you today playing some music as I'm out and about.
Sounds good.
I'll also be at the transfer station today taking my garbage in my little pickup truck. If you're at the transfer station here on Bainbridge Island, you will see me in my 88 GMC.
That was quite an information dump.
We're busy.
All right. Well, we'll see you next week with all the news that's fit to complain about.
Yes. And if the stock market gets worse, Ray does say, I forgot to post this earlier. Let me find it real quick. Where'd it go? Did it disappear? Oh, if markets tank again on Monday and Tuesday, 5,000 more points, and he's withdrawing his Dutch Brothers offer next week. So as the music goes,
see ya.